Tomorrow marks 1 year since the massacre of October 7th, and I've learned many hard truths. Here are the top 36 of them. I've learned that people I once considered friends very easily called for the annihilation of my home and my people. That for most Palestinians, all of Israel is a settlement, and all Israelis are settlers, not just those in Judea and Samaria.
They have to leave. This is our land.
They have to leave. This is our country.
That you can convince people of the stupidest things if it reinforces their narrative, like Jesus being a Palestinian.
As a Christian, I follow Jesus, who is a Palestinian.
The biggest holiday of all time is a Palestinian's birthday.
Or that Jews threw coins under buildings to later claim them.
The Israelis throw coins under the buildings in the construction phase to prove that they have the right in the land.
That UNRWA is, in fact, a terrorist organization.
אנחנו נמצאים במטה האונר"א, רקטות RPG במטה האונר"א שנותנים חסות לארגון הטרור חמאס. המטה הראשי של אונר"א מטענים.
That American-born and raised millionaire Bella Hadid is considered a refugee according to UNRWA. That it's believable women unless that woman is Jewish or Israeli. The word Palestine never appears in the Quran or the Bible, but many still believe that Palestine is thousands of years old.
Palestine is thousands of years old. It is one of the oldest sites in history.
The word Palestine comes from Hebrew, Plishtim, meaning the invaders, or in English, the Philistines. That all Jews came from Poland, apparently. That the UN, even after the worst massacre to ever happen to Israelis in its existence, will still strive for its dismantling and ignore any other human rights violations happening around it or to it. That the UN has condemned Israel more than double the rest of the world combined. That anti-Semites will define for us what anti-Semitism is.
I'm not anti-Semitic.
Or just call themselves anti-Zionists.
Whether you can be anti-Zionist without being smeared as an anti-Semite.
The Gazan mothers and fathers wish and pray for their children to die. And Gaza's leader, Sinwar, believes civilian bloodshed helps Hamas. Yet despite both of these statements being made publicly, woke Westerners still believe Hamas wants peace. That to protest the occupation and checkpoints, woke students occupy university spaces and create their own checkpoints to prevent Zionist students from moving around campus.
You're kind of touching me, bro. Can you back up?
You guys are going to push me down the stairs?
That while occupying the university to create encampments and practice discrimination, pro-Palestinian students demanded gluten-free humanitarian aid and food because the dining hall was too far from their camp.
It's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for.
That the peaceful protesters for a free Palestine destroy their surroundings and call for the destruction of their own home. That many people around the world support terrorism and a people who would throw them off buildings because their hatred for Jews is stronger than the hatred for themselves.
Yeah, against that, totally. Palestine is unacceptable. We don't like that, and we are against it.
That queers for Palestine exists. That you can convince American useful idiots that Osama bin Laden was a revolutionary.
Go read A Letter to America.
I just read A Letter to America.
I feel like I'm going through like an existential crisis right now.
That Ismail Haniyeh was a moderate Hamas leader, according to the BBC and Al Jazeera, and so was Nasrallah.
He was also considered a very moderate leader for Hamas.
The BBC will go over its own rules 1,500 times to paint Israel as the aggressor. That most people don't know the difference between Al Jazeera English and Al Jazeera Arabic. That hostages were supposedly treated well under Hamas captivity, despite being kidnapped, losing weight, suffering PTSD, enduring injuries, barely eating for months, witnessing execution, some even being executed, or experiencing sexual assault and inhumane conditions. That Holocaust deniers still exist, not for a lack of proof or because it was so long ago, but because even with all of the atrocities Hamas filmed and published themselves just a year ago, they still deny that ever happened. That Nazi ideology wasn't as extinct as we thought. All it needed to come back was just a little nudge.
No!
You Jews, Hitler, long live Hitler.
That uploading videos with the words Nazi or Hamas will most likely get your video taken down, but telling Jews they should be soap doesn't violate any community guidelines. That no matter what happens, there will always be dhimmis and Jewish capos trying to sympathize with those who don't actually accept them for who they really are. That despite how social media portrays it, most people around the world stand with Israel and the Jewish people. That the resilience and bravery of the Israeli people is unmatched. That some politicians, no matter how bad things get, will always only think of themselves. That if we choose, we can reach any enemy, anywhere, anytime. That it's never about how we defend ourselves, but the mere fact that we do, which makes people try and stop us. That no one is coming to save us, so we must stand strong and united and defend ourselves. That when Israeli people unite, we are invincible. Am Yisrael Chai.